Welcome to the PHNX Coyotes postgame show brought to you by the one and only DraftKings Sportsbook app, America's top-rated sportsbook app. Don't forget to hit that like button, subscribe wherever you get your podcast, leave a 5-star review. I obviously am not Leo Merrill. I'm Shawn DePaz, joined as always by Petey. Petey, how are you feeling?
Well, you know what, Shawn, this is a tough one. You come away with a 5-0 loss after the way you competed last night. Honestly, you kind of had to expect it. You had to expect their top line, McKinnon, Landeskog. You got Rantanen. You figured they were to come back thinking, hey, we got to go to a shootout against the lowly Coyotes, and they brought it tonight. And on top of that, Kuemper, we talked about it on the show last night that, geez, against his old teams, maybe he'd come out a little shaky and maybe he was rock solid, made the saves he needed to make, a couple of breakaways. He was good. Veggie was fine. I mean, I don't think goaltending was a problem for the Coyotes. That was a good team playing good against the Coyotes, which they didn't bring their A game last night. I don't think today they were much better. They were the better team for 60 minutes against the Coyotes, and that's what happens. It's 5-0, right?
Yeah. I mean, kind of like Leah said, I feel like coming off of the last game, coming off the last game, people were obviously pretty excited. But if you had told people coming into this weekend that you were going to get even a point on the Avalanche, I don't think people would have been too upset about that. So.
Yeah, with the week you had Toronto Maple Leafs and Colorado back to back on the weekend, you're going, this is going to be a tough weekend. We got 3 points. You know how long it took them to get 3 points in the first 15 games this year? These are some of the best teams in the league, and you get 3 points. And you had glimpses of individual efforts. Kessel, Keller, Krause, Veggie is starting to come into his own. I know he gave up 5 tonight, but that's not a 5-goal game for him. On his performance. So you're starting to see some things come together for this team. There's still some guys that need to pick it up more. I mean, you need to see more out of Schmaltz, and they need to try to find a way to generate some offense. But I thought, again, 3 points, we'll take it. Masha Stalin again.
I feel like it's every show at this point.
He's unreal.
Much
Deep pockets, kind of like you. Deep pockets, like Shawn. It was rigged.
I don't know
Tell the
about
NHL,
like
I'm over the rigging. Yeah. I don't know if I'm thinking the league or the referee on this one. This was just
unless
the league rigged it for the schedule, maybe back to back Colorado.
Unless they rigged the Avalanche having one of the deepest rosters in the NHL, then I don't know if we can blame the league too much on this one. But we can hop right into by the numbers. Not that they were much to look at. The shots on goal was the big one. We had 6 in the first period, and was not great. We did manage to keep them under 40 shots, like someone mentioned in the comments, which is somewhat of a moral victory in its own right.
Yeah, this is a team that got 47 shots last night, shots on goal. 32, we I guess you held them to 32. I know when you're inside the coach's room, you want to see that number under 30. You're looking 25, 28 max. The Coyotes, you look at 20 shots on goal versus Toronto, they had 18. Through the second period, you were looking at the first 15 minutes of the second period. They had 3 shots the entire period, and a little flurry at the end between Krause, Fisher, Roussel. They were able to get a few more shots in the second, but again, dominated on the shots on goal again. The power play, they gave the Avs, what was it yesterday? Was it 0 for 6 or 0 for 5?
0 for 5, I believe. Yeah.
0 for 5, so they're 1 for 8. You can't give the Colorado Avalanche 8 power plays, right? It's just they're too dangerous, too good. Face-offs again. I think the Avalanche's numbers were both games that early they were strong, and the Coyotes kind of battled back on that number. So I mean, it wasn't a telltale sign of the game, the face-offs, but the shots on goal. I felt Colorado kind of took their foot off the gas in the third. They had 24 shots through 2. They only had 8 shots in the third period. I kind of thought, they said, okay, I don't want to say they backed off, but they didn't put the hammer down like they did in the first 2 periods.
Yeah. I mean, it was obviously that 5-on-3 opportunity near the beginning of the game that started the scoring for Colorado, and it did not get any better from there. I mean, I feel like it's kind of been the story of the year for the Coyotes in the second period. Normally doesn't go their way, and that's exactly what happened tonight. What was 3 goals in the second?
You said it. It's when the momentum changed in this game was early on the penalties. I mean, you gave him a 5-on-3. You got Galchenyuk took a slashing right after. Kessel takes the misconduct penalty. We still don't know what that was. We're going to ask Craig because he's closer to the action there. And then Moser takes a high sticking penalty, giving him a 5-on-3. You cannot give that team a 5-on-3. There's the 5 players on the ice are all potential all-stars. There are going to be a couple Hall of Famers out there. You can't give them a 5-on-3. Look at Leah Merrill.
Yeah.
From the Santa Monica Pier. Work. Hey, Leah. Yeah.
Yeah,
we got to go LA. We got to work. We got Cardinal stuff all weekend. Unreal. While we're at it, we have Leah in. Can we show what Leah is up to right now?
Yeah, so we're over here enjoying a nice 5-0 loss for the Coyotes, slaving away, and Leah is hanging out in Los Angeles in front of the most beautiful stadium in North America on a nice little road trip.
The PHNX Cardinals crew over there getting ready to cover the playoff game on Monday night against the Rams. Yeah. So look for all their coverage at gophnx.com. They got a lot of stuff going on this weekend. Keep an eye on their socials and on the website because it's going to be exciting leading up to the playoff game. 100%. And speaking of playoff football, we'll digress out of the hockey for a minute. Shawn from Buffalo, how'd your game go today?
It was one of the most enjoyable football games I have ever watched. They scored. They were the first team in the wild card era to score on their first 5 possessions, to score touchdowns on their first 5 possessions. It was an unbelievable performance. I think that the final score ended up being like 47 to who cares because it was an absolute blowout. They exercised like 20 years of demons of the Patriots and Bill Belichick just kind of owning us. So it was pretty good. I'm glad the game went the way it did because it was over in the second quarter, and so I didn't really have to miss anything once the Yotes game came on. But it was pretty nice. I cannot lie.
Without getting too far off, where do they go next? Like, who's up next for the Buffalo Bills?
So it depends on the result of the Chiefs-Steelers game. If the Chiefs win that game, then the Bills will go to Kansas City, which is
to Arrowhead, a tough place to play.
Yeah, not exciting. That's where the AFC Championship game was last year, and the Bills obviously did not win that. And then if the Chiefs lose and the Steelers win, they will host the Cincinnati Bengals and Joe Burrow, who looked pretty good today. So, I would definitely rather have the Bengals, but
take the Bengals at home and take the over because Joe Burrow was in fuego today.
Yeah, he looked very good.
Well, I know there's more playoff football ahead, right? And that's what we got all weekend. And
a couple of games tomorrow, and then the big one on Monday night with the Cardinals in Los Angeles.
I hope it goes better than this one.
Yeah, hopefully. Phoenix or the Valley teams need to get right. But getting back to hockey, should we get into your keys of the game? Not that the Coyotes really followed them.
Yeah, these get hard sometimes because I wanted to say just veggie. If they had a chance, it was going to be Vejmelka had to stand on his head again. But no penalties, and that's where the game started off. That's where their first goal was. They were in the box again, 5-on-3. It turned the tide. I don't know if that's the complete reason. Clearly, I mean, the Colorado's better. They're better. So you just can't give them a man advantage several times in a game. Have to get to Darcy Kuemper. One thing I was hoping that they could get, rebounds, second opportunities, screens, tips, maybe get in his kitchen a little bit, and maybe rattle him a little bit on his return to Gila River. I thought they made it really easy. There were only a few grade A opportunities the entire game against Darcy Kuemper, and that wasn't good enough to get him off his game. He was solid, probably the best he's played in the last 3 weeks. So that's a good sign for Colorado. And then Veggie needed to be the star of the game. He was all right, made some really big saves. It was just that team was so much better tonight.
Yeah. I mean, like we talked about with the numbers, like they just did not really have any shots, and the scoring started on the power play that they gave the Coyotes, or that they gave the Avalanche. So it was, like I said, did not do a great job at following your keys to the game.
But the funny thing is, you talk about those keys to the game, and believe me, when I used to be in there, we'd finish our video meetings off with the last thing we would say before they'd leave the room, which we would put up keys to the game. Like it might not be as silly as these. Ours are a little, you got to make sure the third guy's high on your forecheck and those type of things, but we still did the keys of the game. sometimes you're just going to lose. I mean, Colorado is
Yeah.
better. They're a better team with better players. Their window right now to win the Stanley Cup is wide open. This is the year they were picked preseason favorites to win the cup. The Coyotes, from management all the way down, knew this was a rebuilding season. So, no, are we surprised it was a 5-0 loss? No. We're more surprised last night. But it just shows you when everybody's on board and everybody's working hard and everybody's playing for each other, and on top of that, you get good goaltending, this team can win games. And you won games against the Toronto Maple Leafs, and you took one of the best teams in the league to a shootout within a period of 48 hours. So, yes, it's something to build on. And you're seeing some of your young players like JJ Mosier had a great couple of games here. Kolyachonok played well. You see some of the future players that are on the back end, both under 22 years old. You see the future maybe is coming. Dylan Gunther, there was a tweet today from the PHNX account from Dylan Gunther getting a big goal in the Western League. The kid can score. So the future is coming. Look at Josh Doan again today. He's not only is he leading all freshmen in the NCAA in scoring, all freshmen nationwide, he's 7th in all of the NCAA in scoring. So there are some bright spots for this Coyote team. They're just not right now. And I know it's hard. But what are we through? Was that game 75 tonight? No, it wasn't game 75.
Game
Wish it
35.
was game 75.
Sadly, right? Or game 36, 35.
But it is good to see that there is hope. And with the draft picks they're getting now, and with the trade deadline coming up in a few weeks, there are more draft picks coming and a better opportunity. Either they're going to use some of those to move up higher in the draft, or they're going to trade some of the players they have now to increase their amount of picks. The future, again, depending on how they draft and develop, man, I know people are surprised here that I'm a little bit of a pessimist, but when I look at what's possible here and what the pieces they're putting together, both in the American League and in junior and through the draft picks, and if a player like Clayton Keller can continue to improve his game and be a real leader, man, that this could be the path to some good things. Well, only time will tell, but I'm going to try to stay hopeful.
For sure. I mean, I think it was Bees that mentioned in a couple of shows kind of the parallels between this team and the Suns. And I mean, I know Valley fans suffered for a while with the Suns. It was dark, but I mean, you look at where they are now with a homegrown talent like Devin Booker, i.e. Clayton Keller. They brought in pieces. I mean, I feel like we've seen like positives, hope from Prosvetov and Veggie. So like the future for goaltending looks somewhat bright at the very least. Like there's definitely reasons to be hopeful. And I mean, I know it's kind of the rebuild reminder, but like every loss gets us closer to a chance of potentially picking up another franchise piece. So there's always that you can kind of hang your hat on.
Yeah, and that's what's hard now. And it's we've gone through this roller coaster the entire season of you want to win, you want your team to compete, you want to be in games, but you really understand what the plan is to get that draft pick. And you look across the standings, and with Montreal struggling as bad as they've been the last few months, there's no way you would thought you'd be in the basement with the Stanley Cup finalist from last season. And now you're coming into a game on Monday, and we'll preview it now because this is huge. Like they're 1 point apart, even games right now. The race for right starts on Monday, and it's hard to say people going to Gila River are going to be sitting there rooting for the red, white, and blue for Montreal, but this is a game that could separate them enough that down at the end of the year, you looked at, when Buffalo played Arizona in Buffalo for the Eichel McDavid sweepstakes, Buffalo fans were cheering for Arizona. And
yes,
I hope that doesn't happen. Let's cheer for our home team tomorrow and hope that the ping pong balls fall the right way when it happens. But this Monday game has turned into a kind of a big deal. The 2:00 matinee right before the Cardinals game leads you right into it, to the toilet bowl. And we'll break it down tomorrow on a podcast so we can talk a lot of Montreal Canadian hockey. I know everybody's excited to hear about the battle for last.
Yeah. I mean, I think it's something that y'all have mentioned on the show before, but like this team is probably going to get worse once the trade deadline comes. So I know we're hanging around with some of these big teams, at least recently, but I feel like that the prospects in terms of the tank they'll only improve as the season goes on. Should we get into our kings,
Yeah, our
plural,
kings
of
of the
the
game.
game? Which one do you want to hit
DraftKings
first?
Sportsbook app, king of the game on his birthday. On
Howler
his birthday,
Coyote.
Howler. Happy birthday to Howler. The big celebration there. A
17th
lot of
birthday.
mascots in the building today. Howler.
Sparky was there. I know.
I saw Sparky in a hockey gear. It used to be the Sparky football Sparky, but now it's hockey. I guess they had to have a Sparky hockey, but it was kind of neat seeing Sparky hockey.
ASU has such clean hockey jerseys too, in my opinion.
Yeah. But
I'm
how
also
come so
Sun
many? Like, just like their football team too, they got so many sweaters. It's unbelievable.
Right.
What a budget. Well, let's get to the other king of the game that we had tonight.
Our real king of the game.
The DraftKings Sportsbook app, co-king of the game. Alex Galchenyuk playing in his 600th career game. And really, that was his highlight. And we'll leave it at that he played 600 career games. He's a guy that he's been able to get back into the league. He loves it here. He's trying to find his way offensively still. He's been in a lineup with injuries, with health, and just healthy scratch. But he got his 600th game tonight. So happy for him. And he is our DraftKings Sportsbook app, king of the game.
That he is. I mean, it was a pretty tough game, but at least there's some kind of accomplishment tonight. But speaking of DraftKings, we talked about it a little bit already. The NFL playoffs are here, and DraftKings Sportsbook, which is an official sports betting partner of the NFL, is kicking things off with a huge offer, counting down to Super Bowl 56. New customers can get 56-1 odds on any wildcard team to win their game. If you bet just $5 to win $208, you win $280 in free bets if your team is victorious. What was I gonna say? And I mean, you can't do this anymore, but there was the Hammer the Over promotion, which I was in on, and I did get a little bit of money on that. The over would have hit anyways if DraftKings wasn't so generous to lower it. But even so, the 56-1 odds is for new members, but if you're not a new member, you can still get in on some of the fun with same game parlays. You can combine multiple bets from the same game for a bigger payout. The more legs you add, the more money you can win. DraftKings is safe, secure, and reliable. And best of all, you can deposit and withdraw cash whenever you want, which I know all too well. But download the DraftKings Sportsbook app now. Use promo code PHNX and get 56-1 odds on any NFL team. Like I said, bet just $5 and win $280 in free bets if your team wins. That's promo code PHNX this wildcard weekend at DraftKings Sportsbook, an official sports betting partner of the NFL. That's 21 plus only, Arizona only. Gambling problem, call 1-800-NEXT-STEP. New customers only. Eligibility restrictions apply. See DraftKings.com/sportsbook for details.
Wow, Shawn. Take a deep breath, grab a beer.
Yeah,
that's right? Impressive. That's a lot going on.
There is a lot going on. I have a lot more respect for Leah now.
It's hard.
Not that I didn't to begin with, but
it is hard. I tell you what, it's hard. And I tell you what, DraftKings, when I stick to hockey, everything's fine. When I try to stray off into college football or NFL, things get a little wonky. I mean, we'll just really quick. We were talking about the tank watch with Montreal coming up in Arizona with 20 points, Montreal with 19 points. Just ahead of them is Ottawa, but Ottawa's only played 30 games right now. Ottawa is losing in Edmonton 3-1 at the end of the second period. They're sitting at 22 points, so that will take up one of their games in hand on the Coyotes. And Seattle is also losing to the LA Kings, and they're sitting at 24 points, 4 points ahead of the Arizona Coyotes right now. So the tank watch to me right now is Seattle, Ottawa, Arizona, and Montreal. Those are the four teams that seem to be fighting it out for the right to draft Shane Wright and see how the ping pong balls fall. And the lottery's coming up. Big draft day coming up for this franchise before too long. And PHX will be there the entire way. Let's get one good news on the weekend since we're talking about hockey.
Oh, yeah.
We'll talk about ASU because we had the ASU coach on before they had a chance to play Rochester Institute of Technology, RIT, in Rochester, New York. They needed 2 wins. They had to stay if they want to have a chance to get into the NCAA playoffs. They needed 2 wins, and they beat RIT twice, 2-1 yesterday, and they beat them 5-1 today. they still have a chance. I mean, it's still a rough road. They've got Mankato State 2 weeks from now in Mankato, and they're the number one team. Well, it's not Mankato State anymore. It's Minnesota State of Mankato. Minnesota State, they're number one team in the country, and they go to Mankato 2 weeks from now, and they got to get at least one win. I think if they beat them twice in Mankato, I think they're in the NCAA tournament. I think they're in. If they win one, it'll be tight. It'll be really tight. So we'll be following the ASU club, and I know their hopes were to make that tournament from the beginning of the season, and they're playing better now than they did at the beginning. So they're at least coming into the tournament with some momentum. So we'll be watching that a few weeks from now too. And the Roadrunners, we had the Roadrunners. The Roadrunners were losing to Stockton 2-0. I don't know if I have the update on the Stockton score. It's 3-0 to Stockton. Stockton's leading the Pacific Division. The Roadrunners are having a tough time right now, but if you look at their roster, they're all here.
An ECHL roster, basically.
Yeah, they're all here in Arizona. I mean, if the Coyotes lose their defense, so do the Roadrunners, because they're all here. And Ivan Prosvetov's on the bench right now too, so they're missing their number one goaltender. So it's not a big surprise that they're having a little blip in the road too. But I'm sure Jay Verity's up here too. So I don't know if he went back to coach that game, or I should have asked their staff. I didn't see him on the bench today. I only saw Phil Housley on TV, but they're a team that I think when they have their full roster, they can compete. Unfortunately, with the injuries and COVID that has gone on here, and with the addition of the taxi squad, they've had to struggle a little bit and have to deal with their roster changes of all the guys that get called up here. So it's been difficult.
Yeah, I think one of the things that you've touched on before is that when you get guys that get added to the COVID list, it's not just the NHL roster that gets affected. It's the AHL roster. It's the AHL coaching staff. It's literally the effects of it are so far-reaching that it's pretty tough. I have to acknowledge a couple of these comments real quick. First off, ASU till I die. I'm wearing one of our PHNX shirts right now. Forks up. I've got another lovely one.
Forks up. We got Leah, Uve, and there are so many ASU representatives at PHNX.
Yeah,
man, that Cronkite school just turns them out, doesn't it?
Oh yeah. I mean, we're just different. We're just built like that. But speaking of PHNX, like I said, I'm wearing a clean ASU shirt. There is also, if you are one of those kinds of people, you support the school down south, there is I cannot lie, a pretty sweet Back the A t-shirt that got released about a week or so ago, that will be shipping soon. So I would, if you are a U of A person, get on that. But we also have our super clean Cody the Coyote shirt. I know you're wearing our what were you calling that shirt?
I don't know. Craig calls it the Grateful Dead shirt. Yeah, I don't know what I call it. I don't know. I like it.
Yeah, but I believe those are restocking soon. They sold out. So head to the PHNX locker today and pick up a sticker pack for $5 or any t-shirt for $29.99, and you will be, I say this with 100% confidence, the best looking person that you or anyone else knows, because these shirts are just that good, and they're incredibly comfortable. Like,
they're good shirts. I will say that.
I've said this before. I don't know what I was expecting, but like they're soft. They're very, very nice shirts. So like I said, head over to the phnxlocker.com, get yourself a t-shirt.
Yeah, and you get your Cardinals gear too with playoffs coming up. You got to get your Cardinals gear.
Yes, we just
really
released
cool Cardinal shirts.
Yeah, just released a new Bird Gang t-shirt that looks pretty dope. The Cardinal shirts, all of the shirts are really good. The Sun shirts are really cool. I definitely have to make. I recently made like a purchase of like 5 shirts, so I have to go back and buy a few more.
I know, I'm there too. I go through waves. I can't help it. At Christmas, everybody got their PHNX gear for Christmas, but
Yep, and we're just gonna keep adding to it. So make sure you check that out frequently. You have any Yote shirts still?
Yes, they are still in the lead.
Are they?
They are.
Yeah, I mean, it's not a surprise. I do think, especially the one you're wearing, is my favorite shirt. I was sad that when I went on my little shopping spree that they were sold out.
That it was gone. Yeah. Well, I've stocked up. I've got them all. I got all the Codys. I can't believe I have a purple Cody. Like, that's not me, but I wear it. I got my purple Cody, rocking the purple Cody. I just got a text from Craig, kind of give everybody an update because I know everybody's just anxiously awaiting Craig Morgan's arrival. He finished his interviews. He was in the elevator and he's waiting to get a video clip because he's actually been in position for about 5-6 minutes here waiting. And now he's just going to join because he's not getting the video clip that he was hoping for. So I think he's coming in. I think.
All right. The long-awaited arrival of
Craig Morgan.
I've mentioned to you before that he introduced himself by like his full name to me. I was like, "Hi, I'm Shawn." He's like, "Hi, Craig Morgan. Nice to meet you."
He's got one of those names though, right? Craig Morgan.
Does.
Craig Morgan. Somebody said that to me today. Like he should be like James Bond. Craig Morgan.
Have you been a Ted Lasso person at all?
I haven't. I've tried it. I'm going to go back to it. There's just so much on. Like I have so much sports right now. I don't have time to get into another series right now. I guess I'll have to.
It's very good, but there's a journalist in the show that introduces himself by his full name, and then he says like the Independent. So I feel like every time Craig introduces himself, it'd just be Craig Morgan, PHNX.
Okay, I'm on it soon. Soon. I gotta wait till football playoffs start. I'll try another series. I don't want to give people what I'm watching. Now, he is Discount Clark Kent, and he said he's joining. Like he literally has been standing in this room for almost 10 minutes waiting for this little piece of video. Just get on the show. Like here, like I don't know, and I don't know why he can't connect now. Like he's a professional at this.
Oh boy, I see. This is my first time, and I had no problems getting on. Craig's been doing this. Craig's been doing this longer than I've even been with the company.
So, while we're waiting for Craig, we've got Montreal on Monday.
Yep.
As we've already talked about, it's the basement bowl or the battle for right or the toilet bowl, whatever you want to call it. And then the next day on Tuesday, they jump on a plane and they head to the East Coast. And it is going to get much tougher. They got Jersey, the Islanders, the Rangers, and the Pittsburgh Penguins. And Shawn, take it away.
All right. We have a special arrival.
It's Craig.
He survived the elevator ride.
Is that your doing, Shawn?
It is my doing. I was a little bored this morning and I threw it together.
That's fantastic.
That is really nice.
It is. It's always about the elevator. Like, okay, how long is it going to be tonight before it comes down to the service level? It's unbelievable.
Lord. That's like our life right now, Craig. We just sit and wait for you to get up on the elevator, as clearly the people watching do too, are just waiting for you. Tell us about your post game.
It was pretty quick, actually. I went to Avs instead of Coyotes today, so got a little bit of Mikko Rantanen talking about how they just sort of zeroed in more on their defensive focus. It really wasn't a matter of making any adjustments for the Coyotes. It was just a matter of really kind of paying attention and competing, and they did that tonight. They were really strong. I didn't think the Coyotes had much of anything. They didn't have any sniffs at the net. And then, of course, we got Darcy Kuemper. I'm still awaiting the audio from that interview, hoping that the Avalanche send it to me soon. The Coyotes have already sent out theirs, so props to the Coyotes media relations staff.
Colorado PR guys, not like getting beat by the Coyotes on that account. And Colorado's, their best players were their best players. And when your team relies on your stars, like many of the top teams do, Boston, Pittsburgh, Washington, Colorado, when your best players are not your best players, it's when you can compete against them, and they come down to earth and become a little more human. When those players play well, wow, they're a tough team to beat. And those three, not only are they high skill and fast, they're big. That is a big physical line, and they can just dominate on the ice. When they're good, they're really good. And I don't know if there is a better line in hockey right now. I just don't. Boston's got some nice players, but this this is the best line, I think, in hockey right now.
Mikko Rantanen was just a force tonight. He was a force in this game. Nathan MacKinnon always is. He's like a bull out there and just has a will to get to the net. But he put him with a player like Mikko Rantanen. My God, what a line! You're right, Petey. I agree with you. I think this is the best line in hockey right now, and they are terrifying when they're on their game. There's really very little that you can do to combat that kind of skill and size and speed.
Yeah, it's funny. It's one of the things that this organization has missed since the days of Roenick and Kachuk, where you could throw a player over the boards and go, okay, they might score. I mean, you could throw McDavid and Draisaitl into that. Oh, every time they're on the ice, there is a threat to score. That line, when they're on the ice, you go, uh-oh, we could give one up here. The Coyotes haven't had not only not a full line of that, they haven't had a player like that. I guess Taylor Hall a little bit. I know Phil Kessel's had some nice games, and Clayton Keller can score goals. I'm not saying they don't have talented players. I'm saying that they have a guy that legitimately, when he steps on the ice, goes, oh shit, this guy might score.
Right.
And they haven't had that. And this team doesn't have just one. They have a complete line of it. And then, oh, by the way, we'll just throw Kadri out on the second line because he can do the same thing. And that's why this is an elite team, because they are deep enough. They have scoring throughout their lineup. And I wish for this organization at one point, again, in the near future, they get a guy that they can go, oh, okay, we need a goal. Let's get this guy on the ice. And it's just been too long.
Yeah, especially up the middle, right? I mean, we've talked about this a lot, but I think the last franchise center they had is Jeremy Roenick, and that's 20 years ago that we're talking. And even then, when Roenick got here, he wasn't the same player that he was in Chicago after that knee injury. I mean, I watched him as a Blackhawk, and he was an unbelievable player at that point. He was still really good when he got here, but to have a player like Nathan MacKinnon, everything just filters down from the top of the lineup. Then guys can slot into the right positions, and it's just it changes games, and it gives you a chance to win cups. You don't win cups without players like that at the top of your lineup.
But it happens by having a 48-point season. That's where this path began for this team. They had 48 points. Now, will the Coyotes get to 48 points? I don't know. We're sitting at 20 right now, and we're not at the halfway point. So if my math is correct, that's going to be a tough hill to climb. But the point is, you need to be bad before you can be good. So you get a 48-point season, and you have a couple of drafts. You draft some really great players, and look where you are. And I think if Darcy Kuemper can play like this, this team has a chance.
Look who's here.
I know she's at the Santa Monica Pier.
Monica Pier. Yeah.
You're riding the Ferris wheel right now, Leah?
I wonder if she can handle the heights. I don't know. Wait, we didn't talk about it. Is it roller coaster? Is she a roller coaster or Ferris wheel? I'd rather do the Ferris wheel than the roller coaster. But that's me. Slow it down.
I don't like heights, so whatever is. I've been on the Santa Monica roller coaster. I did not do the Ferris wheel. I'm not a heights person. I'd rather just be over quick.
There's really not much at the Santa Monica Pier that's scary in terms of rides. I mean, there's nothing like compared to, Six Flags or something like that. It's pretty tame, but that's a good spot just to be right on the ocean. I like that there.
Spencer just said Vegas didn't have to be bad to be good, but they literally drafted an entire team. They didn't just draft one guy.
But here's the thing with Vegas is nobody thought they were going to be that good when they drafted that team. Most people looked at that team and said, be okay at best. And then some guys just turned into players that nobody saw coming, like William Karlsson, scoring 40 goals. Yeah.
They threw a bunch of guys together. It was a great mix of players, and now they have become a perennial powerhouse in that division. So
going to have to pay the piper soon.
Unfortunately, the Coyotes cannot go through the expansion draft. That would help them if they could take a player off every team, but I don't think Bettman's going to go for that one. So, any luck on your video, Craig?
No, it's crazy. I mean, the Avs really slow here. And I was told pretty quickly after the game, the Coyotes have sent out all their things, and the Avs haven't gotten theirs out yet. So,
well, I know you're waiting for Kuemper, but Kemper's, and here was one of the things I thought coming into the game, he's a guy that, we'll say struggle. Struggle is a mighty word. He played really well for this organization, for the Arizona Coyotes. He's single-handedly put the team on his back to beat the Nashville Predators in the bubble to get the opportunity to play Colorado in the next round of the playoffs. He didn't play his best against his old team, the Minnesota Wild. It was one of the teams, for some reason, he didn't match up well against, and he gave up goals against him. He had a hard time beating the Wild, and
got injured.
Got injured on that big blowout loss in the third period, missed him for months after that game. So I was wondering tonight how he would face this team, if there would be any of those similar issues, like if he would be in his head, or if he, one thing about goaltending, if you get inside a goalie's head, things can happen. And he's playing against a lot of his old teammates, his old friends, in an old familiar building for a team that traded him. So maybe there was that, maybe I was thinking there might be a chance that he might be a little bit off his game and get a little bit rattled. And it was exactly the opposite. He was more dialed in than I've seen him play with this team throughout this season. It felt like you weren't going to score on him. Even some of those ones like Krause got in. I know Krause, the puck got away from Krause's stick, but then he gets a piece of it right before it gets to Kuemper. Kuemper kicks the leg out. The tip from the blue line, I thought, oh, it's going to go tweener on him. Nope, closes the pads. He looked really solid tonight. This is a great sign for this team right now that he can get this kind of momentum at this time of year. I know on the calendar, it's already middle of January. I know they have a lot of games left, but this is exciting for that team to get him to this level of play.
Yeah, PD, we've talked about this too with Kemps. It doesn't really matter. I mean, you want to be on some sort of roll going into the postseason, but all that really matters for him is how he performs in the playoffs, because that's how Colorado is going to be measured now. They're going to be there. They're going to be in the dance, but they've got to make a deep run. As you know, as we were talking with Jesse Montano, they got to get at least to the Cup Finals this year for this to be considered a successful season, and he's going to be a big part of that. Goaltending has hurt them in the past. You mentioned his play tonight, and I agree with you on a couple of those saves. Eric Johnson did break up that Lawson Krause breakaway just as he got to the net. But I think you mentioned all of the scoring chances that the Coyotes had in this game too, PD, because they didn't generate anything against this team tonight.
Yeah, I tried to look at their grade A chances, and I'm just casually. I didn't go back and review the game. They're under 10. Yeah. I mean, I had them at 6 or 7. You can't win like that. You can't. As a coaching staff, you want to keep your opponent under, somewhere 14, 15, 16 chances against. If you get 7 chances against that, you better be putting that game in the win column. And there just weren't many. Lev Bushkin had a one-timer from the top of the circle, but really no screen, no tip. There just wasn't a big threat. They had a nice passing play early with Kessel, and Gostisbehere had a good shot on net. But again, you're right. It wasn't a huge body of work for Darcy Kuemper tonight. But that's the game he's got to play. He gets a breakaway on a shorthanded breakaway again. Got to make those saves, right? Like that's the game he's going to have to play for this team often for Colorado. He's going to get games where they are out shooting the opponents badly, and he's just going to have to make 2 or 3 big saves. So I think it's how Colorado is going to win most often, when they're playing these lower echelon teams.
I mentioned this in a tweet, so I guess I should at least bring it up, although we won't want to get into a deep discussion about it right now. But you saw all the goalies. You've seen all the goalies that have come through here, PD. Where does he rank among the best goalies in Coyotes history? And by the way, before you answer that, it's really interesting to note that none of those guys were drafted by the Coyotes. I mean, Nikolai Khabibulin at least was a Winnipeg Jets draft pick, but once they got to Arizona, they have not drafted an elite goaltender.
No, and it's too bad because in that time since they've been in Arizona, they had 2 first-round goaltender picks. And so one of those 2 guys you would have thought not only would be the franchise goalie for a decade, you would hope they at least played for the frickin' team. Like both of those goalies, I think, like Patrick DeRoche, I don't know if he ever played. He played a few for the Hurricanes, but he was under 10, 12 games. And Mark Visentin, I think, ended his career with 1. So having said that, the list it's an interesting list, because if you go over their whole body of work, you got to look at a guy like Curtis Joseph, but he wasn't the best Coyote goalie. He might have been the best goalie that played for the Coyotes. Nikolai Khabibulin's got to be right towards the top of the list because of his playoff appearances. Mike Smith, to me, it's one season. It's 2012. He was undefeated in February, and he takes him to the Western Conference Final. He has to be included in that. But Sean Burke took him to the playoffs several times. Brizgalov took him out of a bad situation, thinking, this is going to be a team that misses the playoffs desperately. And he gets him to the playoffs against Detroit. Yeah. Dubnyk takes and rejuvenates his career here. There's so many. Brian Boucher sets an NHL record that I don't think will be beaten maybe ever. 5 consecutive shutouts. I know Bush wasn't the overall best goalie here, but 5 consecutive shutouts at the National Hockey League level. That's not going to happen again.
No. So and then you got Mike Smith, who turned in one of the best playoff performances I've ever seen from a goaltender
against the Blackhawks.
Yeah, and the Nashville Predators.
Yeah, he was unbelievable. Absolutely insane. And so does Kemps. Kemps gets on the list, but I don't think he's near the top. One of these things this franchise has been able to do is find a goalie that's either on his way out or in the American League or a number 2 or in the case of Shawn Burke, who is towards the end of his career, and find a way to give him a new jump start. And it's happened so many times.
And sometimes that's the way you have to do it too. Goalies are so weird, right? The way they develop, you just don't know how long it's going to take for a guy to develop. Sometimes it's almost better. And I think some GMs take this approach sometimes where you wait and see what's out there, wait and see what the guy's going to do, because they develop, like, they come into their prime so much later than other players. They might become free agents. They might become available right before it. And you might have a sense that a guy's ready to take the next step, like the Coyotes have done with several players. Even Antti Raanta, you didn't know that he was going to be injury prone the way that he was, but it looked like he was ready to be a number one goalie. And when he was in the net, which wasn't nearly often enough, he was an elite goaltender. His numbers for the Coyotes are actually better than Darcy Kuemper's. He just couldn't stay healthy long enough to get on any kind of consistent run.
And that's too bad. And that's what the expectations were when they got Antti Raanta. It was a guy that was going to take over that number one job for an extended period of time. And unfortunately, you're right. And some of that, he's a smaller guy and he has to be incredibly athletic and flexible. And he's got a lot of movement to get around that net to cover all that ground. And unfortunately, when you play like that, you're more prone to get injuries. And that's what's happened to him literally throughout his entire career, which is too bad. Look at all the names that are coming out. Abisher, Ald,
Wow.
Michael Tellquist came up. There's so many.
Look at you guys pulling them out. Are we going through the
Zach
list of
Burke?
Anybody who played goal for the Coyotes? Yeah.
I forgot about Abisher. There are a lot of one and dones here. What was that? David Leneveux. Yeah. Remember that one from Cornell? There's been a lot of goalies.
I remember enjoying talking to Robert Esch too. He was a character. He was one of the more enjoyable goalies that's ever come through here. And of course, Brizzy. Brizzy was.
He's got to be one of the best interviews you ever had.
Brizzy? Yeah, he was nuts too. Like, hey, you had no idea what he was talking about half the time, but he was always worth sticking a mic in front of him because he's probably going to say something interesting.
Yeah, but it's funny with him. It was just a big game. It was a big joke to talk to the media. Like he would read philosophy on the team bus. Like he was he might be the smartest goalie we've ever had here.
We should get Brizzy on the show at some point just to let him riff.
It was just he wanted to say things that made people go, is he serious? Is he crazy? That was the game. He just enjoyed being that guy, and he thought it was funny. And he said, "Oh, watch this," and it was just.
That's exactly it too. He played the media so many times. Yeah,
but he could play.
Do you remember the monkeys in space thing? I mean, we should just play that as part of the greatest hits. It was just nuts. Yeah. Why you have to be so mad? I miss Brizzy. It was a great interview. I'm thinking I'm giving up on the. I think I'm giving up on the Avs because they still haven't gotten around to the video. So let me just recap. Listen, Darcy Kuemper's a great guy, but as you know, Petey, not a great interview. He's never been a great interview. And I think this is why his teammates love him so much. Anytime you ask him a question about himself, he goes back to we. Well, we're playing well as a team right now, so it's great. You can't get him to zero in on himself ever. The only personal question I was able to ask him tonight is how his dog Rogue is adjusting to Denver, and he said he likes the snow. So that's as much as I got out of Darcy tonight. But you're right. I mean, if he can, again, I don't think he was tested all that much, but if you have performances like this is going to carry this team a long way because there's just so much firepower. You don't need elite goaltending. You just need above average goaltending if you're Colorado and you can go far in the playoffs.
And with him, you brought up a really good point. He's a good goaltender. He's an above average goaltender, but he's an above average elite teammate. It is what you said about it's we. If there's a problem and a goal goes in, it's me. I should have done. And I've seen so many goalies, but no, where they give this one to their defense when they raise their arms and the body language.
We just talked about a couple of them.
Yeah, there might have been a few on that list.
Brizzy and Mike Smith were two guys who would do that too often.
That raising the shoulders and looking at your defenseman, it's not. You're not a. It's better to say it was me. I got to make that save. Marc-Andre Fleury did that all the time. Even if you shouldn't have that save, he'd say, I should have had that save. And this team needs that kind of a goaltender. They need a guy that's going to, hey, that's my fault. I got to be better. And I think that's one of the pieces that this team has missed for a while. And maybe this is going to be the difference once the playoffs start. This is a team you thought was going to get past Vegas last year and they just missed. Yeah, maybe this is the one piece that they need to get over the hump. And once they get over the hump, look out because this team is dangerous. So we'll see what happens with them.
So before we sign off here, I got to ask Shawn, how you feeling? Shawn is a Bills fan, in case everybody
had
knows
it
by now, right? Okay,
Yeah,
you
they
already talked
knew.
about this. How you
Yeah, we
feeling?
talked about it. I feel amazing. It was like I mentioned, they exercised like 20 years of demons with the Patriots just owning us. So
Seriously.
it felt good. I'm hoping the Cards can do something similar to the Rams this weekend or this Monday. But it was at a certain point, part of me almost felt bad for the Patriots. They just they looked so defeated.
Wait a minute. No such thing as a football fan unless you're a
Don't do
Patriots
that.
fan.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
That's one of those teams that, good grief, they've won enough. Uncle.
Yep.
Yeah, no,
It's okay if they lose.
I didn't actually feel bad for them. It was one of the most enjoyable football games I've ever watched. But like I said, I hope I see the pain that I saw in their face in the face of the Rams on Monday, because a dream for me would be a Rams Cardinals Super Bowl, because then I win either way, or a Bills Cardinals Super Bowl, because then I win either way. So,
and one more, as we've been watching the tank watch here, Craig, I've got the scoreboard up, the NHL scoreboard. The Senators actually went ahead of the Edmonton Oilers 4-3 late in the third, and the Oilers just tied it 4-4. So I know that Ottawa has 5 games in hand, actually 6 because they played tonight. So hopefully they get some points in those 6 games. But we'll continue to watch the tank watch. We'll have a tank watch update tomorrow.
Seattle too, right?
Seattle is losing to LA. It's going to be those 4 teams, and they're going to be fighting it out. And we get to talk. Craig and I will have an audio only sometime in the next 24 hours about the Montreal Canadiens matchup and talking more about the
we're going to talk to Arpin Basu of The Athletic, who is a terrific reporter and a blunt, honest, he'll give a blunt and honest assessment of the Canadiens at this point. So that should be a good show. And before we go, I should mention there's probably, when it's all said and done, going to be a 5th team in the tank watch, and it's a team that is near and dear to Shawn's heart. It looks like the Buffalo Sabres are climbing right back in the race.
Yeah, I mean that's what kind of what we expected going into the season, though. No, like it doesn't come as any surprise. I mean,
I think they're coming back to earth. We'll see.
They do it every year, don't they? They have these hot starts and then they just fade completely.
It's always like a month where they'll come into like December or something, and they'll. I think it happened like 2 years in a row where they out of nowhere were like leading the NHL in the standings, and then we'll see how it ends. Tank did not work well for them last time, because I mean they got Eichel, but how did that end up?
Hasn't really worked for them multiple times, you know. Buffalo has had as many advantages in the lottery as any team outside of Edmonton, and they just haven't done anything with it, which is just really perplexing. That's not a good sign for the health of an organization when you miss that many times.
Yeah, Craig, I mean, who knows how different it would be if the NHL didn't freeze the envelope and give Edmonton the first overall pick and McDavid was in Buffalo.
Wow.
Who knows? Yeah, it's not great over there. But I have the Coyotes, who I have a lot more hope for. So
let's hope the ping pong ball finally falls in the Coyotes' favor. Like finally, like Uncle, let's wash away all of these troubles since the 96-97 season, and let's move on and let's get the ping pong ball and start over. Let's get a do-over, like a reset.
Right? Come on, Uncle Gary. You really want this thing to work in the desert?
Yeah,
get it done. Get it done.
Should we throw up the punch card and see how much further we have?
We
finished 36. We finished one more row. What is that?
Oh my God, that's a lot.
So when they come back from that road trip, they'll be halfway through the season. Okay. At least we'll be halfway. We'll be on the back.
You got any articles coming up this week that we should be on the lookout for?
I'm gonna write something on the Lottery Bowl, so you can look out for that. And I'm gonna have something on head coach Andre Tourigny as well, who will be out of COVID protocols tomorrow and be able to. They're off tomorrow, but he'll be able to coach the team on Monday against the Canadiens.
Is Wedgwood coming off too?
Yeah, they should. Everybody's eligible. Everybody's eligible to be back for that game, but we'll have to see. You know,
I don't think Wedgie's going to play. He hasn't practiced in a week. I can't imagine throwing him into that game.
No, you got to throw one of these other guys. Hey, maybe Prozovital can actually play a home game against a team that's not contending for a Stanley Cup. It'll be the first time in his career.
Maybe, Craig. Maybe this is the perfect time to throw Scott Wedgwood in. He hasn't practiced in 6 days. He's been sick with COVID. Maybe
I see where you go with this.
A little conditioning game, rehab assignment.
It's a good time to throw him into a 2:00 game without having skated for nearly 8 days.
I like the way you think, Petey.
I'm trying.
All right, boys.
All right,
let's go have a Saturday night.
Shawn, I think that's it.
Yeah. So, I mean, if you want to catch all of the wonderful articles that Craig writes, we have Gerald on the Suns, Johnny the Cardinals. We have Mike doing U of A stuff. We have a bunch of just top-notch writers over here at PHNX. Make sure you go to gophnx.com and become a member. You can start with your first month for just 50 cents, or if you want to join, get the annual membership, you get a free t-shirt. I think that's the better deal. I mean, mathematically it is the better deal, but either way, if you want to join the family over here at PHNX, get all of our great content, make sure you head over to gophnx.com and subscribe. Make sure you follow us on Twitter at gophnx_sports. Of course, us at gophnx_ Coyotes. All of our beat accounts. We just great content. We're a family. Join us. You can get in the Discord, talk to all of us about literally any of the Arizona sports, literally anything you want. It's a good time in there. Like I said, we're a family and we want you to be a part of it. So join us at gophnx.com.
And make sure you follow Leah and make sure she's working over this next 3 days, because she's told me, and she told us on the show, that we're going to put all this social content. I don't know. Have you seen it? Because I haven't seen. I didn't see anything from the. I haven't seen a thing from Leah's.
And I am not aware of any projects that we've got going on the Santa Monica Pier either that need scouting. So
what kind of Rams Cardinal coverage are they getting down on the pier? Just saying.
Questionable.
So let's keep an eye on at PHNX_Coyotes and at Leah Merrill. Let's see what's going on in California. So good luck to the Cardinals on Monday. And I guess we got a game Monday too, Craig.
Yes, we do.
Shawn will be back Monday.
I will. I will be back.
Matinee.
Yeah, it's a busy day Monday for Arizona sports. I believe the Sun Devils play as well, or basketball. So there'll be a lot going on.
It'll be a long day. We'll be the preview to the Cardinals football game.
Yes, so a little appetizer.
We'll lead you into that. Maybe we'll tease that game too.
All right, boys.
All right. That is it for all of us here at PHNX Coyotes. You can follow me at Shawn DePaz. You can follow Petey at S Peters Hockey. Craig at Craig S Morgan. Like I said, follow us the beat at PHNX_Coyotes. And they'll have a show tomorrow, and then we'll be back for our post-game show for the Lottery Bowl on Monday. Deuces.
See ya.